today I am so happy to have Matt Rosebaugh with us, a guy I met, I don't know, how it's probably been like four months ago or so. We think we met over the summer. Matt is the Director of Business Outreach at Big Voice Video, and just a super guy. Went to West Point, almost a straight A student. Did I see that right? Like,
yeah.
9 something crazy. That is awesome.
Don't worry about that. I had to work real hard for
that. Went on to be a helicopter pilot in the Army, special operations, aviation officer, very impressive career, and then also instructor. Now you are getting your MBA at Ohio State, which is so cool. And I saw doing some assistant professor, being an assistant professor at Ohio State in military science. Very awesome. We have a common friend, Jeff Riker. Actually, Matt introduced me to him, one of the top warrant officers in the Army. And you guys, I guess, work together across paths. And he said to me, Jeff said to me the other day, I mean, this is an impressive guy who, he said he supervised 1,600 people towards the end of his career. And he said, you keep an eye on this guy, Matt, man. He is going places. He's just a special person. So anyway, thank you so much, Matt, for being here. Appreciate it. Did I get everything right in that bio? I know I went through it quickly.
No, that all sounds awesome. I didn't know you were going to bust out that stuff from Jeff, but I'll have to talk to him about that later.
There you go. Anyway, I wanted to have you on just because I've been so impressed with your career trajectory, especially since leaving the military, and how you just seems like you're doing everything right. And I thought it would be really helpful for you to share, some tips, some suggestions that you might have for other veterans coming behind you. Talking about, making that career transition, which is a difficult one.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing that I like to, talk to folks about is that, a lot of us have an imagination, gap in where we can go, post-military transition. Like we join the Army, we enlist, we commission, and like you've got your job in the military and you get pretty good at that. And a lot of folks just try to find a way to, take all of those skills and translate them to the civilian world. And then like the issues that I see is that people will do that and then realize, man, I hated my job in the military. That's why I left. And now, I'm doing that in the civilian sector. So starting early and really doing your research and figuring out, what are my strengths? How can I find a job that capitalizes on my strengths? What am I passionate about? How can I find a career, where I can do something that I'm passionate about? And then, a lot of, folks in the military, they sign up for the military because they want to, make a difference in the world. So, finding a way where, you can make a difference in your own little slice of the pie. And that doesn't have to be, something crazy. I mean, you could get a job doing something you're passionate about that builds on your strengths and still like be a world changer. Just, finding that niche and then, loving what you do. So that's the first thing I like to talk to folks about.
That's good. I mean, that's great advice. Like I didn't mention, but Big Voice Video, you guys are also helping veterans and helping present them to companies across the country and being that matchmaker. And they do you guys do a really awesome video presentation of the veterans, which is just so impressive. And I know I saw you're also mentoring with Veterati. A mentor program. So what was that your passion? Like, was that part of your goal? Like, gosh, I want to stay involved in the military.
So, it took me a while to figure out that I even wanted to transition because, what kid doesn't want to fly helicopters when they grow up? But, as I started going through, I learned a lot of stuff along the way and realized that, the military in your transition program is not going to teach you that stuff. And then, someone needs to be the person that says yes, and says, hey, I want to help the veteran community because, the veteran community, I mean, a lot of people in transitioning have the chance to really, change your trajectory and, do something different. But specifically military veterans bring a multitude of skills with them that they can, go and do what they want to do. Because a lot of times what we do in the military doesn't transition to the civilian world. So finding out like how your skills in the military will help you to find that dream job is like what I'm passionate about. And that's like, if I can figure that out for myself and then I can share that with other folks, like that's how I change the world. And that's how, I find my passion. So it's something I've been interested in. And the more you work with folks and the more you see those like aha moments and, folks that are like, oh, I never thought about it that way, the more it like, strengthens your resolve to say, I've got to do something about this because, there's more to be done.
Yeah. Did you have people in your life who, when you got out, you'd look to them for guidance or suggestions or, basically networking with them to help find that passion or that focus for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I've got a long-term mentor that I've had, since I was in school, and we talk all the time, and he is still in the reserves as well, but he got out of the military and has been doing some pretty significant things in the civilian world. And I just call him and bounce ideas off him, and he'd be like, "What'd you think about this?" Or he would connect me with some folks, and would kind of like just push me to get outside of my boundaries and outside of my box. And then the other thing is, like the military, when you transition, tells you, hey, you need to network. And then they say, hey, you can network anywhere. But nobody ever tells you what that means, like in real life. And really what I found is that reaching out to people and just like being extremely humble and saying, I don't know what I'm doing with my hands in my transition is extremely beneficial because like folks, generally will have a heart for helping a military veteran. And if you come to them and say, hey, I just want to talk to you about your career, about your role, about your company, about your, how you transitioned, if it's another military veteran, people are going to be willing to open the door to them. But like us as the veteran community see networking as, I want to find a job. So how can you help me find a job? It's like when you go to somebody with an ask, they are going to be way less likely to connect with you. But when you create those relationships and like you prepare, you look at their background, you come with like 20 questions and hopefully you get like your top 5 or 6 answered, then you create that relationship, and by the end they're like, oh, this is the person who's just like using me to find a job. They're looking for some knowledge, and those people will be like, I want to help this guy or gal. And those that in itself opens doors. But like you can't ask. The ask will get you shut down every time.
Yeah, that I love that advice. And you're right. People make that mistake is they're out of work and they say, oh, networking, and they start walking around with a resume in their hand and passing it out and emailing it. And do you have a job for me? Do you have a job? And the person might have a job, but people don't want to put their name on the line. Like they don't know you as well yet. They want to go slow. And to just go with what you said, which is, hey, I'm just here to learn from you and hear your story and any suggestions you have for me. That is so powerful. I mean, so powerful. And it does, the best part about it too, is it's so easy too. Just like you said, man, people love to take you under their wing and make them feel important, and they want to give back and help. And especially to the veterans, you go up to a civilian and say, hey, I'd love to hear your advice. I mean, that goes a long way, and you will not get turned down. So you don't have to worry about that rejection,
Yeah. And I think, like selfishly, even if you don't get a job, like every time you talk to somebody, it broadens your perspective. And that goes back to like that imagination gap of, you don't know what you don't know. So you talk to enough people enough times, you're going to know the right questions to ask to learn those things that are important to you, and it's going to broaden your aperture. It's going to broaden your perspectives, and then that's how you take that time to transition. By the end of it, you're like, oh, I know what I want to do because I've talked to all these people and I know what I'm getting into. And even if they never offered you a job, then you gained wisdom from those conversations. Absolutely. And that's super, super important.
And you never know it's like being in the right place at the right time. And you never know, you could be doing like I call these informational interviews where you go out, meet with these people and, meeting with somebody who's a school teacher, and you don't want to be a school teacher, but you have no idea her brother might be the VP of marketing at ESPN. It's like, you got to put yourself in those situations to have doors open. And so I think that's awesome advice. What advice would you have for, one of the challenges I noticed a lot of veterans make, I was dealing with one yesterday, he gave me his resume. It was just filled with all this military jargon. You know, what advice do you have for veterans on that front? Like when you leave the military, how do you present yourself as a civilian now?
Yeah, so a great point on that. I think, you know, when we transition, we go through those workshops and they try to, like, you know, get us to create this resume. And that resume is about taking what we've done and then just putting it on paper. And I think that's the wrong way to look at it. The right way to look at it is to, you know, do all this work, figuring out what you want to do, and then find that next career and write your resume that points directly to that next career. So if you want to be a consultant, like, you need to write your resume like as a consultant. Nobody cares about, you know, doing all of this weird stuff in the military. They care how you went in to a customer or a client and were able to solve their problems and give them, you know, a brief on what to do next and how that helped them out. And, like, we've done that. Everybody in the military has done that. It's just explaining that in a way that somebody understands. And like we've got the jargon in us, but just simplifying that down is, like, you know, I was tasked to, you know, provide whatever to said client, who could have been battalion or brigade or whoever. And, you know, I came up with all these courses of action, was able to brief the commander on it. You don't have to say commander, you could say, you know, brief the chief operating officer. And, you know, they were able to choose the example that, you know, saved 25% time on our training event.
Yeah.
And it's not about, like, what you've done, because nobody, you know, understands that. It's how to apply that to the future. And there's some great resources out there that'll help with that. So, like, Hire Heroes USA provides some awesome, you know, resume work. Like Betterati, like I'll get resumes from folks in Betterati, and we'll sit down and talk through their resume. And like BMOC is also another awesome one. It's like BMOC.com. It's like a AI, so that they learn through, like, everybody that posts, you know, a resume to the website. And then, you know, from that, it will provide you very, very, very detailed feedback on what you did good and what you did bad in your resume. And then also suggestions on, like, how you can, you know, do better. So that's a really long answer to your question, but
that is good. Yeah, no, I love that. It's because I'm a big believer that anyone who served in the military, you have transferable civilian skills. You got to,
absolutely.
I don't care if you were, like, repairing trucks. You could do the skills and experiences you have are second to none. You just have to transfer them. So a civilian like me can look at that resume and see you as a civilian, not as a guy running around with a gun. You know, that's, you got to make that jump, make it for me. Cause I'm not going to dig in there and start, what are these acronyms? What did he mean by that? You know?
Like I would say, I think, because I still have a little bit of military in my resume, but, like, I've had military recruiters who are, like, prior military that look at my resume and, like, Matt, you got to tell me what you did in the military, because I have no clue. Like, they understood what I did, but, like, what job was I doing?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, Matt, this advice was awesome. I can't wait to share this with our audience. Can you tell everyone, I know you're involved in a few different things, how can people find out more about Big Voice? And, you know, I don't know if you'd be all right if I put your information at the bottom of the description, if anyone wants to reach out to you.
So Big Voice Video, we do professional video profiles for transitioning veterans, and we do a lot of, like, what I just talked about. So we'll pull, you know, we'll get the resume, we'll look at, you know, what they want to do in the future. We'll help them to, you know, tell those stories in a way that resounds with employers. So that's, I mean, you know this as well as I do, that video is an extremely powerful media source right now, and it gets a lot of attention. So, you know, sitting down with them and having them tell their stories in a way that's, you know, connects them with those employers. So when an employer looks at it, they're immediately like, I understand how this person, their skills apply to what we're doing next. And like, we've got several initiatives we're doing with Big Voice Video right now, and you know, definitely stay tuned for that, where we're working with some major recruiter sites who are, you know, have some very, very high end sponsors to, you know, provide this, you know, way more mass scale than we've been doing it already. And then the other thing that I would add is Betterati. If your community has not gotten onto Betterati yet, that is an invaluable resource. You go on there, it connects to your LinkedIn profile, or you fill out a profile, and then it will, you know, there's all these executives and people that have transitioned from the military, and they've got their calendars connected to it, and you can literally pull a hour block on a CEO's calendar, and they want to talk to the veteran community, and you'll be able to do that. So you can reach me on
Intermentor. That's a mentorship program. So it's all free. It is a must. You have to get on Veterati or go out and find your own mentor, just like Matt found his. But you don't do this alone. It's too hard to find a job. You need to build a group around you who's going to support you and help you and get it done for you. But anyway, Matt, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Jordy.